All right, everybody, here we go, kicking off the final section of Mod 7 Section 3. And in here, we're going to talk about setting up a machine for shielded metal arc welding. We're going to explain how to do that, and explain how to start, stop, and maintain your equipment. All right, here we go. In order to safely and efficiently weld, the equipment must properly be set up. And selecting the proper equipment, choosing the right location, moving it into place, stringing the cable, and locating the workpiece clamp. Selecting the proper equipment, you need to understand the welding process, types of currents that you have available, what your needs are, the maximum required amperage output. Are you welding on thick metal, thin metal, what kind of metal, what's going on, what do you need? And then you have to figure out which process you need and what do you have to do to put that in. The primary power requirements. As you guys know, we installed a new transformer. It's those boxes on the floor sitting on top of the cement pads right out in front of the breaker boxes. Those are the inverters that change the power. We have AC. When you get AC, that's what's coming in off the power lines, AC current. We need to be able to run DC. Our welding equipment runs on DC, so we had to put some inverters in there. Welding machine location. They have to know. You have to think about water. You don't want to be getting around where there's any water that's going to get on them. They need to be able to run cool. You don't want them running hot. It's got to be good air circulation. Also, you need to keep them clean. Last year and every year we open these machines up and blow them out with compressed air. We don't want them to be getting full of dirt and dust. We need to keep our welding booths clean for that same reason. Anytime you start moving a welding machine, you need to start thinking about, if you look on the right, you see that little eye right there. If you look around the shop at a lot of our heavier equipment, there's special things that you hook onto to pick them up. This is a test question you guys need to know. If a welding machine starts to fall over, don't attempt to hold it. They can be very heavy and they can cause severe injury if they roll over. Now, I'm not talking about a little machine like that little red machine, but some of these bigger machines, like really none of them that we have in the lab weigh more than 85 pounds. But if you start, those big synchro wave machines, those start getting up in a couple 100 pounds, and they go on up from there. So the number one thing you want to know for the testing purposes is they can cause severe injury. Do not try to hold it if it starts to fall over. Just get your body out of the way. You can buy another weld machine, can't buy another body. Many welding machines have lifting eyes. Lifting eyes are what these things are right here. It's where you hook into them. You got to know what a shackle is. We have shackles. We have lifting hooks. We have slings. All that stuff is hanging on the side of our big crane out there that we built last year. Stringing welding cable. What do you have to do? Well, if you're running across the floor, you don't want to crush it. You don't want to roll over it and expose it where people can get electrocuted. You can lose some of your electrical power if your cables are damaged. So your welding cables need to be long enough to reach their work area, but not so long that they always have to be coiled up. You lose some amps when you do that. Plus, it's a trip and fall hazard. So before you string cable, you need to inspect the cable. Make sure that it's in good shape, and string it safely in a way that it won't cause trip and falls. Also, you need to be able to drive across them. You couldn't drive a truck or a forklift across these things without tearing them up. But if you put these little types of things on top, you can. Let's turn the page down here. The workpiece clamp must be properly located to prevent damage to the surrounding equipment. If the welding current travels through any type of bearing, seal, valve, or any other sensitive contacting surface, it could cause severe damage from arcing that would require placement of these out. Also electrical. You think about if you're welding on the front of your truck and you put the ground clamp on the tailgate, that means all that electrical current for your welding machine has to pass all through the electrical system of your truck. You could damage it. So the safe thing to do is always put your ground clamp real close to wherever you're welding. That's kind of what the bottom line here. Dirt and paint. You guys have seen before, sometimes we're welding and we can't get a good arc, or a good arc strike. We have to get a better earth clamp or ground clamp, rub the paint off. It won't arc if it doesn't. The electrical circuit, the path of the electricity has to be not insulated by anything that could break it. All right, we've got a little section here on starting in the welding machine. Starting an electrical welding machine is a simple matter. You just flip a switch. There's a source of energy. You just plug it in, turn it on. Electrical power machines are plugged into outlets. Turn them on just like a light. Machines that require three-phase power will have a 4-prong plug, and machines that are on a 240, those are going to have a 3-prong plug. Here's a single-phase and 3-phase plugs. You see the direction. See the direction of these plugs. Some are sideways, some are long ways. Each one of these illustrate different types of plugs, different types of voltage. Never use a welding machine till you identify the electrical disconnect location. In the event of emergency, you have to be able to quickly turn it off. That's that big red button that's up against the wall by our electrical panel. If you push that button, it shuts everything off. Pre-start checks. This goes now to you talking about gas and diesel engines, engine-powered generators, engine-powered. You have to do check the oil, check the coolant. Basically, it's just like starting a lawnmower or anything else. You have to check it out. You want to make sure if it's a trailer that you got mud flaps. You're not going to bust people's windshields when you drag that thing along. Check the fuel, check the battery. Make sure that it's in proper running condition. You need to keep that stuff in good running order. Electrode holder, that's a stinger. That's what holds your electrode or your welding rod. Fuel shutoff valve opens and closes the hour meter. This is a test question. What do you look at when you're trying to figure out when it's time to change the oil? It's right here. This information is used to determine when the engine needs to be serviced. The hours will be displayed on a gauge similar to an odometer. Engine appearance. Looking for oil leaks. Look for coolant leaks. If something doesn't look right, there's something wrong with it. If it runs out of oil and it runs out of coolant, it's going to overheat and you're going to ruin it. So you want to make sure it's always running good. Small engine-driven welding machines have on-off switches with pull ropes. Larger ones could have batteries. When you stop the engine, if no welding is required for 30 minutes or longer, just shut it down. Save the gas, save the wear and tear. If you're finished for the day, also close the fuel valve. Save your fuel. Watch out for fuel leaks. And engines can be hot. If you shut that fuel valve off, you're guaranteed not to have gas leaking on a hot engine. Allow the engine to cool. Joe Trevino put a hot T-joint in his Harbor Freight bucket and melted it. If you guys are listening to this and you want to send me a message for a bonus, you can send me a message in school that just says Joe Trevino melts his bucket. And that's how you ruin a good bucket. 324 preventive maintenance. Engine-driven welding machines require regular maintenance. Keep them going good. Most sites have preventive schedules based on the hours that the engine operates in severe conditions, such as very dusty. You do maintenance more often. You clean your air filters and so forth. When performing preventive maintenance, follow the manufacturer's guideline. Typical tasks are changing the oil, gas filter, and air filter, checking antifreeze, greasing the undercarriage, repacking wheel bearings, replacing worn drive belts, maintaining spark plugs, maintaining the battery, cleaning surfaces. Keep it clean. And then you want to protect the environment when possible. If a fuel-powered engine is smoking or leaking, fix it. And here we go with our section review. And when a welding machine, when you're lifting it, connect the welding lifting eye using a shackle. That is that U-shaped thing. We have one hanging on the crane. To prevent a battery from exploding when you weld it, you must avoid getting it around sparks and arcs. Batteries give off explosive gases. If you get sparks and arcs around explosive gas, you're going to have a little explosion. An exploding battery can blow acid in your eye, put your eyes out. So you always want to use eye protection when you're jump starting or doing. Anytime you're working with battery, remember, odds of it happening are low, but when it does, it's pretty bad. I actually have a relative that it happened to. So in summary, shielding metal arc welding is used, often called stick welding. Remains one of the most widely formed means of welding in the industry today because of its simplicity and low cost. It's not foolproof and it's not completely without risk, but it is very effective, and it's the best form of welding there is out there, in my humble opinion. It requires practice to be good at it. Whatever type of welding is being used, you have to understand the different types so you can make the proper selection and setup of your equipment and your accessories, because you need to be able to achieve a reliable weld while staying safe. So on that note, I believe that's the end. Here's some trade terms: conductor, polarity, rectifier, step-down transformer, and that's going to be the end. We're going to review our study guide, and we're going to get ready to take our module review exam. Congratulations. We already finished with Module 7.